We'll get started. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Meena, you want to start?
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुशं ददामि भगवद्गीते भगवद्वेक्षिणीम् नमोऽस्तु देव्याश विशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायदभत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः
प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपालये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृततुते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं भज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेष्य मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः।
Thank you. So, up till last week, where we had completed up to the 26th verse, we find that Lord Krishna has already dealt with pretty much all the 6 topics that Arjuna wanted to know. They are uh, I'm sure, can you all just say what the 6 topics are? Just trying to get you engaged. So the 6 topics were starting with Kshetram,
Kshetrajna, yeah.
Correct, exactly. It started actually with Jnanam, right? The Jnanam, which were the 20 values, and then Jneyam, which is the goal, right? And then we came to Kshetram, which is the field, and then Kshetrajna, who is the knower of the field. And then just in the last few verses, we dealt with the 2 other terminologies, which is Prakriti and Purusha. Now, these 2 terminologies are actually very much practical for us. And knowing this, we can really understand what has really happened in this entire creation, what is happening in this cosmos, what is happening in the creation. And so today, especially, in Shlokas 28, 27, 28, 29, which we're going to do, we'll actually talk about uh, how this world come about, not from a practical sense of the word, not like the Darwin's theory, or not like something where we are discussing about evolution, not like that, but in terms of our own perception. So this is the beauty of being a human being. Being a human being, we have this mind and intellect which allows us to think beyond the material world. So it is only at that level really that we have what we call as this moksha, moksha or liberation. Uh, that moksha is possible only at the mind and intellect level, not at the physical level. So, which is why, sometimes when people say, oh, somebody has passed on, when we say passed on, has moved from one body to another body, that the person has attained moksha. Actually, that is not true. It could be true in some cases where literally the jnani is waiting to drop his body and he has been living this world as a jnani and just waiting. In their case, we can say yes, the person has actually already attained moksha and now has physically dropped the body. But for most of us who have still a lot of desires left, we are actually moving from one physical body to another body, right? So this part of it is, in some sense, today in we are not going to talk about reincarnation. That has already been dealt with in previous other chapters in 8 and 10 and so many other places. But today we are talking about really this concept in our mind and our intellect on who we think we are and how what we think we are, how did that come about? Okay, so all this we will be talking about. So in the last few shlokas we had talked about the levels of sadhana. We talked about the karma yoga, then the upasana yoga, and then the shravanam mananam nidhyasanam. And then Krishna also pointed out as to why he is insisting on this knowledge. Now, this is where this aspect of this what of thing, what comes into play, which is how the mind and intellect has tricked us into thinking who we are. So, therefore, the only way we can actually solve this problem of the trick that the mind and intellect is playing on us, on really thinking who we are, is how this whole samsara has come about. So, samsar, not again in the physical way, but more in terms of our relationships. So, the problem of samsar is actually because of this particular error which has come with regard to the perception of who we are. So, this error which has happened in our mind and intellect has to be taken out. And this error is actually caused because of our own ignorance on who we think who we are. For example, if I continuously keep on thinking that I'm this Sunitha, I'm this Dean, I'm this field which has been given to me to work is very very real and all that, then I'm in delusion. I need to think that this, whatever I'm doing right now, is really just a role I'm playing. And this role has given me an opportunity to exhaust my desires in everything and move on. Move on to really understand who I am. If not, it is really a self delusion. I am deluding myself. And this can be removed only through knowledge. And this knowledge is very necessary for us to get out of this samsar. Okay, this samsar which we have now got so entangled in, and therefore the sadhanas that was described in the three verses from 25 onwards to 27, and today we'll of course be dealing with 27. Last time we just started on it, and then from 28 onwards, Lord Krishna is telling us about really how this knowledge will benefit us, and how it will benefit us is that we will have a very clear understanding of our goal. Okay. So in Shloka 24, we talked about य एवं वेत्ति पुरुषं प्रकृतिं च गुणैः सह सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स न स भूयो abhijayate. So again, this Purusha and Prakriti concept is very much needed here for us, because I have to understand how I have gotten myself entangled, and this entanglement has happened because of the gunaihi of the Prakriti, where that Purusha and the matter along with the qualities has been talked about here, and this obtains from even from all rooms of dharma and is not born again. So, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all these four purusharthas are steps for us to understand how we are leading a life towards this goal of moksha. But once I know my true nature as Purusha, then even the rules of Dharma is not necessary. We are even above the rules of Dharma, and above this rule of Dharma, ultimately, what am I really aiming for? Everything that I really want to accomplish, everything I want to do is already been done, and therefore I'm not born again. And that is what nasa bhuyaha abhijayate. That is not happening again at all. So this is ya evam veti, which Krishna points out, very clear knowledge. That person who knows this knowledge, that is the critical thing. That person knows that he's not born again. And sarvata vartamanopi, once the person knows the whole life is a drama, the advantage was sarvata vartamanopi, the person can play any role in the life. Because let's face it, our life is nothing but a series of role playing, right? I cannot avoid this role playing. I am a mother, father, daughter, employee, a neighbor. All this is nothing but a role. Whether I like it or not, the moment I'm born, I am already in some relationship. I'm in relationship with my parents to start with. Then I'm related to my siblings, if I have siblings. And then when, let's say my brother's son gets married, then I bring one more, person into my life. So in all this, it's nothing but role playing. And when the role becomes really serious, let's say, like I've given this example before of Shah Rukh Khan, who probably takes on a role of a beggar or something. And if I take that role of beggar very seriously, and even after, the role playing in the movie is over, if he continues to go with the begging bowl, then there is some problem, right? So this is why Krishna is saying, Sarvata Vartamanopi, you need not change your role. If I'm Sunitha, for example, I need not really say at the end of the day that, I have to change my role. I can continue to be in that role. Like all of us, we are all grahasthas, right? We need not really change the role of a grahastha. I don't have to run away right now to the Himalayas and then stay in a cave and say that, I'm done. So Krishna is saying, don't change your profession, don't change your status of a grihastha, etc. No external change is required. Only what we need is an inner transformation. Once a transformation has taken place, any role, sarvata vartamanopi, he's saying, take any role and sabhuyo abhijayate. Okay? You are not born at all because internally I have gone through a transformation. Externally, I can be doing anything. I can be a crorepati, I can be a millionaire, billionaire, anything. Okay? But if I can just, like I've given this example before, if I just wear whatever the role like an overcoat, I know it's not winter time for you, but if just like a thick overcoat, I take it off and I'm me myself. So that is what a jnani is. A jnani is one who doesn't take any of these roles seriously. He's not attached to the roles. He understands that it is all a game, that he understands that I am none other than that Atma, and that Atma does not have to wear another new coat. You know, I don't need another Janma. Abhijayate, this is, I don't need another Janma. And what is the definition of Janma? Which is Stula, according to this. I know you have not gone through Atma Bodh, but Stula Sukshma Sharira Sanyogaha Janma, where there is the bringing of the subtle body and the gross body, Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. So that is the this. And what is the definition of death? Death is Stula Sukshma Sharira Viyogaha. So Sanyogaha is where the body and the um, spirit or soul or whatever you might say are connected, but viyoga where it is done. So the mind is there, the body is there. Now the mind and body together, then the whole drama really happens, right? So this is what we talked about in 24, and this is just a conclusion to summarize. The fruits of freedom from this one, from samsar, is the fact that Savrata Vartamanopi, I have freedom from all dharma, all that has been completely done here. So then moving on to shloka number 25, which we talked about, is that Krishna's task is actually right now already over. He's already explained. So he's now already trying to wind down the discussion because 13 chapter is coming to an end very soon. So he has to do this. So from 25 to 35, he's just essentially winding down. Okay. And here he says, he just gives the various paths, if you will, to understand who I am. So dhyane natmani pashyanti keschit atmanam atmana anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. So he gives, karma yoga, then he gives the yoga of knowledge, sankhya yoga, and then he gives, dhyanena, so through the art of meditation, all this atmani pashyanti, I through all this, I'm trying to behold really who I am. Kechit Atmanam Atmana, through control of mind. This is another method. So, all these methods are techniques by which, I'm trying to purify my mind. And it's only through the purity of mind, where the mind itself is not there, that I can actually know who I am. So before we do all this, we truly have to understand what am I really attached to, right? We need to deal with this attachment to our three gunas of the Prakriti. So in simple terms, what does that mean? We need to understand our true desires, our selfish desires. I I just use the word selfish not from a very negative point of view, but the desires which is connected to where I have to be satisfied. Okay, and that satisfaction of I can be in so many different ways, right? It can be a very tamasic satisfaction, and that is why the word gunas were used. It could be a rajasic, it could be sattvic. So Krishna says that the most advanced seeker is the one who has mastered this technique of dhyana yoga or meditation. They can directly contact their own self. That is, they can directly understand who they are, through this topic and through this method of dhyana yoga, which of course we have seen already in this sixth chapter. But for those who do not have mastery over the meditation, who still have a lot of problems dealing with their own mind, then, the yoga of discrimination is given. That is using knowledge, which again in the second chapter, we have seen this already. So such a person has a very good command over the intellect, and they can immediately be able to separate the eternal essence, that is who we are, from the gunas. Just like, how in the olden days, we had this pounding of the rice. You take the husk out and you get the pure rice granules, right? So too, we can easily separate the rice from the husk, or the all this anatma from the atma. Okay, so the three gunas actually, they are the objects of my perception, but I am a witness to everything that is going on. So this part of it becomes very clear. But for those people who cannot even practice this yoga of discrimination, then what happens? Then you have karma yoga. Karma yoga is the yoga of selfless action. And this selfless action was also covered. Again, I'm going back to, a quick review of the third chapter. So third chapter is where we talked about a lot on karma yoga. And believe it or not, most of us, we fall in this category. So when the actions are performed with only not me in mind, but that Ishvara who is the controller of the universe, who knows exactly who we all are and what we deserve, that Purusha, that Ishvara, if I tend to dedicate all my actions to that Ishvara, who in the form of Krishna is giving me all this knowledge, okay, so then the mind gets completely purged of any kind of this I factor. Okay, so such a pure mind now is very ready to receive and internalize this knowledge of one's true nature. So before moving on to the next phase, this one, the Lord wants to make sure that we actually have this foundation. He wants to make us really clear in our mind. And that is why all these things have been given to for us to practice. So Atmani Pashyanti. So in one sees himself, and this Atma is available within our own body complex, and I need not go anywhere else. After some time, we ourselves recognize that I don't have to go to places like, a very tamasic place like Las Vegas, or even the most sattvic of places like the Grand Canyon. I'm just saying, in one state, how you have both a tamasic and a sattvic place, right? And when I say sattvic for Grand Canyon is because it's so beautiful nature there. So the ultimate goal for us is Atmani, Atmana, Atmanam Pashyanti. So by myself, again, I'm reminded of this beautiful Panchamrit. Uddharedatmanatmanam, Atmanam avasadeyet. So Atmani Pashyanti, I'm able to perceive that I don't have to go anywhere else. This Atma is within myself. This same Atma is everywhere also. So this one, so we talked about all these steps here, and through karma, through Sankhya, all this, and then in Shloka 26, we again talked about that whenever we want to learn something, we have to do one of the two things. We either have to listen to, an expert like Lord Krishna. I mean, there cannot be any the highest form of expert as Krishna. If I can have Krishna in my life is good. I can do anything, right? So, through the study of Lord Krishna's life, through the study of many of the jnanis, we can slowly put all these teachings and slowly begin to understand really who we are. And hopefully, someday we can also help others understand who they are. So, all this is possible only if we have faith in the teacher and when we follow the instructions. And therefore, Krishna says that, if we are not qualified to follow any of these techniques, which is given in the previous shloka itself, then we can obtain the same result of this one if we find a guru and we follow the path prescribed by them. So, teaching by itself is not enough, but I need to follow it. So, just like when I go to the doctor, and trust me, I do this all the time, I go to a doctor and I do get the medicine from the doctor. I'm really good by following the doctor's prescription for at least a couple of weeks or whatever. Then, when I don't see the effect, I'm like, okay, do I need to follow this? No, that is not a good way of doing it. To be able to follow the doctor's advice completely and follow this. So that is what in Shloka 26, he talks about. I'm sorry, I didn't put the Shloka here. So he says, Anye tve, Anye tu evam ajanataha, sorry, Anye tu evam ajanataha, Shrutva upasate, tepi chati, tepi cha ati taranti eva. So taranti eva, they're able to cross beyond death because they've had faith in that one guru. So this is what in 26 we say, Anyebhya Shrutva Upasate Mrityum Eva Taranti Eva. So they're not exposed only to the words, they're committed to the words of the Guru, and because they are committed to the words of the Guru, such committed students, they will for sure cross Taranti, cross even death, to know that death itself is only a process of giving up a mortal body, something which is very finite. So they are able to understand that they are beyond this finite body. And what is that finite thing which we are going through? And that is the samsar, right? So they will also attain moksha. So with this, actually, we come to one whole section, the finishing of the phase 3, which was about bondage, right? Now we are coming to the final phase, and which is needed to for us to go towards moksha. So this and this next this section of phase 4, right, will continue till almost the end of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so it's almost, you can say, the phase 4 is the teaser, or is an idea of what is to come. So, which is, of course, very important for us, right? So far, we have learned what is jnanam, we have learned what is jnayam, and everything. But we need to know how to get out of the samsar. I am in samsar right now, and this samsar is sometimes really stifling me, um, and I really don't know how to get out of it. So from here on, of course, 27 to 31 gives you sort of a teaser, and then we will go on. So this knowledge focuses really upon how am I going to get out of this bondage. But first of all, of course, we need to understand, are we really in bondage, right? And I think I'll open the floor a little bit to all of you, because we need to truly understand if we are really in bondage. If we really love the life if we love the life we are leading right now, then we'll never really ever aim for moksha. You know, we need to have a very clear understanding of, am I really happy? Okay. When I say happy, the word happiness here, it's a very deep meaning, which is, am I happy all the time? Or am I happy only some of the time? So if I am happy some of the time, that means my happiness is dependent on some of the things going right, right? So I would like to hear from you as to how do you look at this word bondage? Because if I understand what is bondage, then I will understand that I want to get out of bondage. But if I'm very happy, like I said, then I will never want to get out of it. So let's just have a little bit of a discussion on this one. Anand, do you want to offer something to say on this word?
Harvam, please repeat.
Yeah. My question is, do we all at this point of the game, because from now on, from 13th chapter of from 27 on to almost end of the Gita, we are actually going to be talking about how to get out of bondage. Okay, bondage. Now here bondage is referring to samsar. Okay, so do we understand very clearly what is samsar? What is really binding us to samsar? That is the question.
I think from these chapters, uh, some of the slokas they say like right about this world, and also I believe it's another chapter it comes like even though someone goes to the any of the lokas, including the Brahma loka, they still have to come back,
Mm-hmm.
and then whereas if they reach Paramatma, then there is no coming back. Like
Mm-hmm.
Brahma Bhavana Loka Punaravritti. So the kind of the sloka goes. So at this
Right.
time, I would say, yeah, we have some understanding that whatever is here is impermanent, and then we it seems like sometimes we are happy, but the aim should be to get the ultimate happiness.
Mm-hmm. But what is keeping us in a state where we want to attain this moksha? Why are we even bother about it?
Hari Om. So
Yes, Meena.
you're saying, I mean, you put in this screenshot out of bondage. So you're saying
Yes,
if you're happy with the bondage of what you have right now, then
correct.
we are not even moving a step forward to our life. Of course, yes, we are
Towards the
happy.
next step.
Yeah,
Correct.
of course we are happy, but
Yes,
this is all, as Anand said, this is all temporary happiness. I mean, when
correct.
you have to move forward, then slowly we have to come out of the bondage. I mean, we cannot be saying that yes, I'm happy, I'll be like that. This is all temporary, because having come to 13 chapters right now, we know that whatever that we are going through right now, it's all temporary. So
Exactly.
if we have to move forward and we have to take one step out of it, then yes, of course, that happiness also, it's just temporary. So we have to think in our mind and come out of the bondage. Try to, at least.
Correct. Correct. Anytime when I think that the happiness is coming and going,
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
then I'm in bondage because I am bound to those things which are giving me happiness. So anytime when for example, a simple thing we always give is, every time I get a gulab jamun, I'm happy. Every time I do not get a gulab jamun, that doesn't mean that I'm unhappy. That is not the case. But the fact that I'm dependent on the gulab jamun to give me happiness is a bonded happiness.
That
You
happiness is
know,
just for the moment.
correct for the moment, and it is triggered by an external source.
Yes.
Same thing, right now, if my temperature is, it is so hot, okay, and I turn on the AC and I feel cool. Of course, I have to do that because if I want to focus my attention, this last 1.5 months in Chennai was terribly hot, you know. I have to recognize it's terribly hot, and I have to do something in order to reduce the heat, in order that I can even function mentally, right? But that is because, again, I have created a notion in my mind that if I have AC, I will be happy. So, how did people live long, long time ago when there was no AC and still functioned? Great Jnanis also did that, right? So it is at a highest level. Yes, we are bound to some things in order for us to be comfortable, to be happy, and everything. But let us accept that, in this day and age, I cannot do that. But even without the AC, will I be happy? Okay, that's just one way to look at it. But anyway, I wanted to give that thought is anything which I'm dependent upon to give me happiness keeps me in bondage. Bondage is nothing but I'm bound to something for my happiness. So I need to list out all these things which are keeping me in bondage currently. If I didn't have any of those things, will I still be happy? You know, am I very clear on what is the meaning of death? Am I very clear about the role of my own children in my lives? Am I very clear the role of my own family in my lives? And it goes beyond, of course. I'm not talking about the material things. I'm only talking about relationships at this time because at this stage in which we all are in, at the end of the day, it's only our relationships which gives us the most happiness. So that is why this coming five shlokas are also very important, which makes you think on those lines. So in shloka 27, what happens is you will see how so far, we've been talking about what the goal is and what are the ways in which I can reach the goal, all that. But now from Shloka 27, we are going to shift our attention from the nature of Atma to the nature of the world, because we are all living in this world, right? So we have to know what this world is, because we are transacting it, transacting a lot of things here. Our own families are there, and if you're working, my coworkers are there. So then, how should my attitude be towards a world after I have understood, at least even in this theory so far, that I'm that Atma? Okay, I'm that Atma. So, how should I work in this world? How should I deal with all these things, with, like I said, the heat and everything? So, we cannot, of course, thinking that I am Atma, that I'm something really special, or that I am somebody who's, useless or something like that. So you will see in this next sequence of shlokas, we learn how to develop the right attitude towards the world. What is the vision with which I have to move forward? Okay, so that is what we're going to be doing here. So he says, Yavat Sanjayate Kinchit Sattvam Sthavara Jangamam Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyogat Tat Vidhi Bharatar Shabaha. Bharatar Shaba. Okay. Yavat Sanjayati Kinchit Sattvam Stavara Jangamam Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyogat Tat Vidhi Bharatar Shabha. So now we are talking about this. I mean, I know I'm Atma. I know that now this entire world is out there for my enjoyment. Okay. Now, how did this world come about? How did I start to interact with this world for my own enjoyment? What is it that prompted this kind of a sanyoga? That is what he's saying. Sanyoga relation. Yavat, whatever, so he's giving an answer to all this. So whatever yavat sanjayate born kinchit, any sattvam stavara jangamam, moving or non-moving parts, how did they all come about? They came about because of the kshetrajna sanyogat, by the union of the kshetra and the kshetrajna. So Krishna is saying, oh Arjuna, realize this is how the whole world has come about. And again, I would caution that, not to think about this as something which happens in the real, something in the real world, like, the physical world. How did that come about? So he's saying, this entity, this sattvam is that comes into being as part of creation, whatever this one, the word stavaram, they covered this whole range of all the created beings. Nothing is left out. Okay, unmoving, that is the unmoving part about. Unmoving stands for all the jangamam, living beings, including trees that appear not to be moving. Okay, all this taking only into this one, they are governed by karmas which are accumulated in so many previous births. So, according to that karma, we are all placed in our own places. This entire world is not a freak of an accident or something. Everything is happening according to how it is supposed to happen. Each one of us are exactly where we are, whether it's in Michigan or Boston or India or anything, okay, in a particular role. All this has happened through our own karmas, right? So at one end of the spectrum, the so-called papa yonis, that is people who are sinful births, so trees and plants, for example, they cannot think, they cannot move or anything like that, and they're totally helpless to protect themselves. They cannot run away. But on the other hand, we have the punya yonis, which is all the souls who have come with very good karmas and who are really destined to be human beings, all this. So these things are the outcome of a union or partnership of the Prakriti and Purusha, and they are parents of all these beings. So that is what he's describing in this verse. So to understand this better, there is this concept of anyonya adhyasa, or mutual superimposition. Okay, so Krishna begins by the topic, of course, by saying that every other being in this one has come into existence, just like how they have come into existence, right? So each, in each one of them, what has happened is the Purusha, okay, the Purusha, which is completely detached, Nirguna, everything, it has come into kind of, it has, by an error, it has actually identified itself as a jiva, as the individual soul. And subsequently, this Purusha develops attachment to these qualities of this Prakriti. And in this, in the process, it actually accumulates a lot of this desires or karma, etc. And billions of these Purushas, they live out of their lives in this, trying to exhaust. It's nothing but that one Purusha which has taken birth in many of these beings. So, and then when it takes this birth into these beings, it becomes identified with it, and this kind of an error is happening. Now, to explain this one, I have this example here. This is a classic Vedanta example of an iron ball and the hot iron ball, So, the iron ball by itself, you can see, is, this really gray stuff, right? But when you heat it, it becomes this orange ball of fire, right? So normally it is, actually iron balls, these are without shape, but it's taking the property of a really a round orange ball here. And this two things which where it has taken the fire has taken the property of the iron ball, and the iron ball has taken the property of the fire, correct? And this is called as anyonya adhyasa, or mutual superposition. So how do we relate this to Purusha and Prakriti? Okay, so the Purusha's nature is actually very much infinite, and it's full of chit, knowledge, full of existence. It's full of independent happiness, right? That is what Sat Chit Ananda, the nature of Purusha is. Whereas Prakriti, this entire inert earth, correct? It is inert, and it is finite, it keeps changing all the time. But what is happening is this Purusha, by identification with this Prakriti, takes on the properties of the Prakriti, and then it goes through all the issues that we all can relate to, which is all the sorrows and happiness and joy, and again, also all the other qualities of anger and sadness, all these things. So this is how this, through Anyoni Adhyasa, this entire samsara has been brought out. So our daily life, if you think about it, is nothing but where this Purusha, which is completely infinite, has identified itself with many, many finite things, and all this because of this error in how this identification has happened. And through this entire samsara has been brought about. Okay. So what is samsara then? Krishna is trying to say that, this samsara is nothing but at the end of the day is caused by the ignorance and error. So, first of all, there is that error by which Purusha has identified itself. Second thing is that it has forgotten that it is nothing but that ultimate Atma, and it's thinking that it is all these anatma, this finite things. So samsara is caused by that ignorance and error. So what is ignorance and what is the error then? It is that I am Purusha. This part of it I'm totally, completely ignorant. Okay. But when we say Purusha, we have to also keep in mind, it is not the male thing that we're talking about. It is not a male or a female or anything, everything. Purusha is that infinite which is completely without any properties. Okay? So, the other ways in which we look at Purusha is that it is that absolute consciousness, it is nirguna, that is without any qualities. It is nirvikara, it doesn't undergo any fragmentation. It is that truth. Okay, that is that Purusha. That part of it, each one of us, okay, we all are that ultimate Purusha. But I have forgotten that because I have taken all these roles. And this roles has led to this error thinking that I'm not that Purusha, but I am this person. I've chosen unwittingly to identify myself with this Prakriti. So when I do not even know that I'm Atma, I mistake myself to be this Anatma. Okay, not Atma. Or Sunitha, for example. You know, I'm so entrenched in my own understanding that this is who I am, that that ignorance itself makes this physical body of mine to identify myself with my own thing. And by doing so, I'm actually kind of leading, and this is where I just want to bring the dream example, you know. See, in a dream, what happens? For example, suppose I'm dreaming that, I am going to, I'm in Chennai. So right now I'm in Kochi actually. But imagine that, I'm in Chennai and I'm going through the Pondi Bazaar. And in Pondi Bazaar, there are so many shops, and I'm going to different shops here. Of course, we have Amazon, which has taken care of all this now. But imagine that I'm going to Pondi Bazaar and I'm going through this and going to a cloth store and I'm trying out something else. So the point is, I'm so entrenched into all this. I've taken on this role, I've taken on this, I have identified all this is happening in my dream, right? And I'm interacting with so many people. All these people, who are they? They are all a figment of my own imagination. I myself have become all that shopkeeper who's selling me things. I'm the person who is the let's say I'm going with my husband, my parents. Who are all they? I myself have taken that role of all this in my own dream, right? So this is how I need to look at how this Purusha has taken on the different beings and the roles and is interacting. So this entire samsar is nothing but different different replicas of the Purushas interacting with each other. Ultimately, it is only one Purusha. Okay, and this has led to this entire samsar. Okay, any thoughts on this, or is that clear?
Hariom,
Yeah,
yeah.
Anand?
So it's like a dream state where uh, you know everything happens.
Exactly.
The one thing is we are aware that after we wake up, say like we just laugh at it or you know just forget it.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
I mean, even though we see like so much happening, or things looks like something happened in like 20 years, or we go back so many years, but again once we wake up, so it's like I mean, there's no we just laugh at it, or things like that.
Right.
So so
Exactly.
that's the dream state.
Yeah, just like the dream state analogy, where when I wake up, I understand that the whole thing is nothing but a dream. So, too, realization of moksha is that waking state where I completely realize that I am not this role, or the name that is this one. I am that ultimate Purusha. And once I realize I'm that ultimate Purusha, then the way I interact with the world itself will be completely different. Now I understand that each one is that Purusha only, is me alone. I myself I'm there in every bodies, you know. And you can imagine if I have that kind of a feeling, how beautiful would my relationship be with everyone, right? So, Krishna is saying that, the kshetrajna sanyoga, because of the union, sanyoga means abhimana also, identification of the I, the kshetrajna on what? The body or the kshetram. So, sanyoga means identification, mistaking, and the mistake is I miss the original and take the wrong one as myself, just like in a dream, I mistake that I am that Purusha, but I identify myself with each and every, I don't identify and I think about each one as separate, right? And that is the mistake that I do. I miss the Purusha and I take the Prakriti as myself. So this is the Kshetrajna Sanyoga or Atma Anatma. So Shankaracharya, in his Adhyasa Bhasha, has spoken a lot about it. And I mistakenly think that I am this body, and because I'm this body, because of this identification with the body, which is Deha Abhimana. So there are two faults, two mistakes that is committed here. First of all, I'm infinite. I have so much of potential. So that immortal Purusha, I mistake myself to be this Sunitha. Therefore, in mortality, I take myself to be this, that immortal who I am. I think of myself as this finite this. Second thing is, once I take on this role of a finite person, then everything connected with the finitude, I get identified with it, and then I work through life, and I keep thinking that I'm now feeding this finite thing with so many things which are also finite. And therefore, apurnatvam happens, Karma leads to karma, karma leads to more, so the whole cycle just goes on. And if I'm not alert to the fact that I am that Purusha, then I literally fall into a ditch. Like in the second chapter, we have the shloka 61, 62, I think, dhyayati vishayan pumsaha, that shloka there. Slowly and slowly, I just go down into this rabbit hole, and all I'm doing is dig my hole deeper and deeper, and I'm getting into it. So that is the part of it which Krishna is saying that, yavat sattvam sanjayate stavaram. And Krishna is saying that, every living being he's talking about, they go through cycles of births and deaths, stavaram, whether it's non-moving or jangamam, living being, which what is so, all these things we tend to go through this all because of this one mistake that I've made, that I am this physical body, because I'm constantly feeding this physical body. It's like, back nowadays, I don't know if kids still get doll houses or something, when it's a young girl, 5 years or something, you give them a doll house, and the girl sees, how the mother is feeding her and everything, and then she feeds the dolls, the same thing. So just like that, we are only feeding our finite selves. With finite selves, how much of finite can you feed that finite thing? Everything is so temporary, right? So this is why all our happiness is only temporary here. But I am that Purusha, which is infinite happiness. I need to understand that if I am that infinite happiness, what am I doing in this world, in this samsar? Just feeding finite things to finite, to a finite body here, right? So this one he says, iti vidhi. Arjuna, you please understand, he says. You please understand that you are making a mistake. This body identification that you're doing and thinking that you are Arjuna, you're the one who's fighting, these people are getting killed. All this is born only out of ignorance. So every error that we're doing is only because of this product of ignorance. And if that error is eliminated once for all, then I will truly understand why I'm here. So you cannot really attack that error directly. You have to attack what is the cause for that error. And what is that cause? That cause is that ignorance. Okay. So, for example, if I have to destroy a tree, right? Just cutting the branches is not going to help it. I have to cut at the root, right? So too, so that is that I need to understand. So that one, the only no, the only thing to cut that root is nothing but knowledge. And this is what he has discussed in all these verses 25, 26, 27. Okay. Sorry that I've come to, we didn't come to 28 and 29. Let us see if I can take about 5 minutes at least to go to 28. And then, so this is why Krishna is insisting upon knowledge. And he says the only way you can cut this ignorance, this problem sansar, is by this knowledge alone. And from 28 onwards, Krishna will actually also talk about the benefit of this knowledge. And this benefit he presents in various ways. You know, it's like, when as a country, we are fighting for the independence from, the enemy. Freedom fighters, they always, they tell the citizens that which is common among them and de-emphasize which is different. So, for example, in India, freedom fighters, I know, India had to ask the citizens to overcome the difference of region and religion and emphasize the idea of a united India, right? So, unless the citizens stopped identifying themselves with a certain region and started identifying themselves as Indians, there is no way that India can gain independence. uh, we tend to focus on so many different things when we are dealing with samsara, right? We look at another person and say, oh my God, they have this quality. That's why I'm not going to talk to them. And all this. But all that is temporary. So Krishna is telling us, is literally, forcing us to develop an attitude by which we can shift this focus from something which is so temporary to something which is more permanent. So, in other words, slowly and slowly, if I understand through this knowledge, then I will be able to see that Ishvara in everyone, not only in myself, but also in everyone. So earlier we saw that everything in every being is nothing but this combination of the Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Now I will start identifying with the imperishable Kshetra and start identifying myself with the imperishable kshetrajna. With the perishable kshetra, with the something which is temporary, I'm trying to detach myself and identify this one. So this is the correct vision by which we are going with, and that is what he's talking about in Shloka 28. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyantam vinashyastu avinashyantam yap pashyati sa pashyati. That last sentence, yap pashyati sa pashyati, is so beautiful because it actually means that finally I am seeing what I should see. Who sees this? He really, really sees. We've had in during our Sandipani days so much of discussion on this aspect of it, because that is the vision where we are going. Finally, I am using my eyes and everything to really see the world as is. And the world as is nothing but that Purusha alone in the form of everything that is Thavara Jangamam, which is moving and unmoving. So, this part of it is what I get to see, and ultimately, I see that whatever the inequality which is there is nothing but the superimposition which is happening here if I remove that superimposition, I see that Lord everywhere. So this Prakriti and Purusha, they are together in this creation, but it is only those people who are able to see that in and through everything which is there is nothing but Purusha is the person who actually sees. So that is the benefit of knowledge. We will probably, will take it up next week because again, it's so very beautiful. I had prepared to finish up to 29, but I think I got carried away a little bit in the introduction to the part of it.
Hari Om. In the
Yes, sir.
previous slokas, one of them came like Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanuvartanam.
Mm-hmm.
So just see them as right doshas.
Correct,
That's
correct,
been emphasized in these slokas too.
correct, correct. But here he is asking us to focus, or yes, you're right, to see the doshas in the way in which we are living. Only if we see the dosha and how we are living will we be convinced towards moving towards understanding my Purushatvam, on really who I am. Yeah.
Right.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ